I think we are live. This is the 30th episode of Sight Reading Maverick. I have been doing this since early on in the pandemic. I don't even know how I got the idea, but I did, so I ran with it. And it's one of the highlights of my week. So thank you for joining me today. Let's see, what can I say? In the description box below the video part, you'll see links to all the pieces on today's program. So feel free to kind of open that up and read along as we go, or you don't have to either, and then you won't know what I'm missing. Anything else? Oh, there's a chat box, and I already see Richard. Hi, Richard. Greetings. I do check on that box throughout the show, so if you have any questions or comments, by all means, please feel free to leave them there. Other than that, what I basically do is people have sent in requests throughout the week, and I am going to sight read them. So, and who knows, sometimes I have good sight reading days, sometimes not as good, but it's always fun, at least for me. And I just enjoy finding all this music I never knew about. Hello, Louis. Bonjour. All right, so speaking of Louis and his dear wife, Helene, the first piece on today's program is one that he requested. This one is by Jean-Baptiste Loeillet. That's one I did not look up how to pronounce. And this is from a collection of gavottes that's on IMSLP. So we're going to start off with some dancing. And yeah, so without further ado, let's do it. First, this gavotte by Loeillet is in 2/2, so 2 beats per measure, and D major. And I don't believe, yeah, so it's just 2 section 1, and each section of course repeats. What I will do is I'll repeat it if I want to. If I don't, I won't. That's straightforward. Okay. Fastest note value, which is one of, you'll know if you've been around with me a long time, that's one of the first things I look for. What's the fastest note value? Because that does help me to assess what the tempo is going to be. So hopefully I don't dig myself in too deep by starting too quickly. Of course, with the gavotte, you're somewhat also, it narrows the tempo down based on the fact it's a gavotte. Lots of grace notes. They're just simple I don't remember what those are called. And with all ornamentation, I do them if I feel comfortable, but that is, when you're sight reading, something that by all means you can let go of. Oftentimes that can slow people down. It can also mean that they add beats or do something quirky like that. And really, it's more important to keep that pulse and the meter consistent. That's more important than doing the fancy ornamentation. You can always add it in once you get more comfortable. So let's just go ahead and go. So one, two, one. There was a passage at the end, very, very end, and it was very brief, where you've got double thirds for a brief time. And in sight reading, that is another thing that by all means, if you can let go of when you're sight reading, you really don't need to read double thirds unless you really want to. So double thirds are obviously just sort of like a pumping up of the harmony. Usually I opt to play the top line of the double thirds. But anyway, I did add them in the second time around. All right, the next one is another gavotte that Louis requested, which is by Jean-Philippe Rameau. And this is sort of sweet, I think. He mentioned that a certain somebody, I think namely Helene, might have studied this when she was young. So I'm really happy, hopefully, to be able to play this and maybe bring back some good memories. All right, so this is Jean-Philippe Rameau, like I said, and it's in cut time, of course. This is an E minor. Again, lots of these similar grace notes, or I don't know what they're called, mordents. And actually, I should say something about that. What I noticed in the last one, and also in this one, is that whenever you have a little ornament like that in these particular gavottes, it's always starting on the main note and goes up and then back down. So I store that in my mind. So I tell myself I don't need to study which mordant is it or which ornament. I just know that that's the one. If that makes any sense. All right, again, eighth notes are the fastest note value. Really long eighth note passage, especially at the end of it. But all it is a fancified scale going down. So that's kind of handy to know. And then it has the upper neighbor. Says quarter note equals 184, which is actually faster than the last one we did. Oh, I think I actually recognize this. I do. This one's quite famous, I believe. Yeah, so I'm going to do a little bit faster, just see what happens. I recognized parts of that, but then I got into the middle section, and that fortunately it was repeated, and it got really chromatic. It was really surprising to me, so I'm glad it repeated, so I had another chance. Lots of fun. So thank you, Louis, for suggesting those two. Those are fun to do and a really good way to kind of warm up sight reading chops, which actually this whole volume could be really a great sight reading tool, I think, because they're definitely pieces that are a little bit more accessible, perhaps. Not that they're easy, but it would also be a great way to do ornamentation and that type of thing in a sight reading context. All right, the next piece on the program, so I need to go out and go back in because that's a big volume. The next piece on the program is by Charles Hubert Hastings Parry, who I had never heard of before, but last week I played a piece by Stanford, who I think was Irish, and I was doing some reading about him, and it mentioned that another famous composer from the British Isles is Charles Hubert Hastings Parry, and I had never heard of him, so I thought, I think I better see if there's something by him. So there's this set of 5 romantic pieces. There's other pieces on IMSLP by him, and let's explore a little bit. The first in the set is a prelude, Andante Grazioso, G major. Each beat is divided into triplet figures, so that's good to know. It looks like it's very blockable, meaning each beat is a chord. So that's how I will be reading largely. I'm not going to be reading note by note. I'm just going to be reading chords, and it just goes from the bottom up every time. So I'm seeing how long that is consistent. I'm also looking to see, it looks like the left hand, the first note of each beat is basically going to form the melodic material. We'll find out if that's true. It has this exact same setup through the entire prelude, so that's good to know. Only other thing is at the very end, the left hand crosses over. All right, let's try it. Andante Grazioso, let's see. I think because there's not a lot of obvious melody, it's just every beat. I'm gonna try to do this not too slow. We'll see what happens. Three, four. Lovely. I think it could have, I could have done it a little bit faster and it might have made a little bit more sense, but I really am glad I took it that tempo because I could really make sure I could get the majority of the harmonies in there. Really beautiful harmonies, I thought. So, yay. All right. What's the next one? Should I do the next one? Okay. The next one is a sonnet. Andante sostenuto. It is either an E flat or C minor. I think it's E flat. This looks just very poetic. That would make sense. It's a sonnet, right? Fastest note value, really eighth notes. I just noticed when I turned the page that on the top of the second page, another hand crossing. I just like to be aware of those when I can catch them before I start. Some kind of wide rolled chords. I'll definitely aim for the bottom and the top. Whatever happens in the middle, okay, so I'm really going to choose the tempo based on this opening melody that I think comes back quite a bit. I got caught off guard by some of those harmonies, but I think I like them. Let's see, I'm interrupting to read some of this. Helene said you're so happy. You're very welcome for playing that piece. And Richard says, I'm thinking of recomposing that Parry piece with whole tone harmonies. I think you should, Richard. That'd be very interesting. Oh dear. Okay, am I going to try this one? Yeah. Okay, this next one is 3 lines. Oh, that's just cruel. Hold on. Might not be so bad. I don't know. If you're looking at the score, what you would see is that there's 3 lines here, which is somewhat typical, right, in WC, and I've done some of these in previous episodes where you've got 3 lines. But this one is different. So it's not really, it's hard to explain. So the bottom line is actually when the right hand is going to cross over and play bass notes. That quite possibly could mess with my little head. But anyway, we're going to try it for the sake of fun. Okay. It's in B flat major. I should definitely look this over. And the right hand has the melody and the bass. And the left hand is just going to be going along with this accompaniment, which I always find these hard to play because they can sound really clunky. Oh, good Lord. And then we get octaves at the end. I don't know. We'll see. Forget-me-not is what it's called. Con delicatezza ed espressivo. So tempo. 8th notes are the fastest note value. But I have to be careful because I have to cross over gracefully. So we're going to try this. 1, 2, 3. That was a really hilarious challenge. Because then, of course, at some points, Parry decided to just have the left hand go ahead and go down and do those bottom notes. So at that point, my brain was really having fun. And it was interesting to figure out what my tactic kept changing on how I was going to do it. What I quickly discovered is that those bass notes were really very predictable. So I started just doing it mostly by ear. It's like, well, what note would you go down for to hit? So I don't know, somewhat successful. All right, we're gonna do, the next one's a little bit faster. So let's see how it goes. It's Caprice, which is playful. And this does have 16ths, Allegretto, G major. Very motivic. And the left hand is very repetitive throughout. Sometimes it looks like it's going to be a little bit of a far jump, so I'm going to try not to obsess too much about those. When they are far, they tend to be tenths, so we'll see. Looks like in the middle you've got, it changes up a little bit slower. It's good to notice that, right? There's a rallentando, a little slower, so I can take advantage, take a little breath. And it's also legato. It is 2 voices in each hand, so if I need to leave out a voice, that's okay. Always try to find the melody though. Make sure the ending is not too insane. It is in parts. It looks like it gets a little funny harmonically up on the last page. And then at the very end, you've got this little flourish that goes down that alternates between the hands. So the question is, do I want to alternate? I think I can. It just outlines a diminished chord. So that's good to know. All right, here we go. How brave am I? Three. That was really charming. I had fun with that. Yeah, really sweet. All right, and then the last one, I'm going to go ahead and do the last one in this set too. This is Solitude, Andantino, F major, and looks pretty straightforward. So I think I'm just going to read. In the second page, it does go to F minor briefly, so that should be interesting. There are dotted rhythms in here, so I'm going to quickly make sure I know the difference between them. But it also looks like if I just really focus on the eighth notes, I should be just fine. Okay, I really liked these pieces. So there you go, Charles Hubert Hastings Parry. All right, next on the program is, this will be interesting. This is early music, not written for a piano. And this was a request by somebody on Twitter, by Jan Peterson Sweelinck. I think that's how you say it, Sweelinck. The first piece, I think if I have time I'll do both. He requested two. This is Puer, nobis, nascitur, which is, the theme is from a Christmas carol or a hymn. I guess it's a hymn. He sent it to me and now I can't remember. Anyway, the notation is a little bit wonky. It's in 3, so we'll see what happens. A lot of figurations, but it doesn't go any faster than 16th notes. One, two, three. Okay, I can't figure out the rhythm. One sec. Wow. Okay, we'll see if I got it. Okay, what I learned with that is that I think I took it too fast. And the other thing, and the person that requested that warned me about this, is that the notation is a little bit different. So there are these things that are supposed to be half notes that aren't really half notes. I mean, they are half notes, but they're not written as half notes. So that was very confusing. Okay, the next piece, oh my gosh, time is flying. This is another request by Louis and Helene. This is Mathilde Kralik, who's an Austrian composer's Vorspiel. This was before a set of written for before a set of lieder that she wrote, along with text that was written by her husband. Daniel Roberts says hello. Hello, Daniel. Good to have you here. All right, I'm running a little bit low on time, so I'm going to go ahead and just read. I'm going to scan first, make sure I'm not missing anything. Oh my, some of this looks very intriguing. It's basically an F major, but it has lots of interesting harmonic things. I'm just going to try it. Let's see what happens. And at the beginning, there's no tempo indication. So I'm scanning. 2. Wow, that was really interesting to me. And especially in light of the fact that my assumption then is after this were to be played, then you would have a set of songs that would be sung, which I need to look at. Incidentally, too, if you want to open up the score, the title page is absolutely gorgeous. So, or it's interesting at least. All right, yep, so there's the songs. Very cool. All right, I'm really, really excited about the next thing on the program. So for those of you who have been keeping track, I have been starting to feature a living composer's piece every week. And most of the time, if not all the time, most of the time it's been somebody that I know on Twitter. So this has been such a joy for me to be able to get to know my Twitter friends through this means. So this week's composer is somebody that was born in the United States. However, he now lives in Ireland, I think. Shoot, I just totally drew a blank. But anyway, this is Rod Moulds' set. This is the first piece from his set of Aquarelles. He has 2 sets, and they're all really beautiful. And he has a SoundCloud account. And that's where I started listening to his music just yesterday morning. I've listened to it on occasion, but I really sat down yesterday and listened. And I fell in love with this first one called Chrysanthèmes. And I thought, I think it's readable. So I asked him if he would send me the score and if he would let me read it today on the show. So here we go. At the beginning, it indicates that it's supposed to be played luttuoso. So I looked it up, and it means sadly. I've never heard of that word, but I love it. Luttuoso. A minor. This is just such a beautiful soundscape. So I hope you enjoy it. We've got some triplets and 16ths. The left hand is very much just simple and provides this harmonic underpinning. And then at the end, you've got a very fanciful thing. So I really want to figure out kind of quickly if I can ascertain what it is. It's an A minor chord topped by an augmented chord, or I don't know what you want to call it. And then it's really using the same notes, just in different forms. So that's helpful to know. He wrote this in Baltimore in 2014. Quarter note is at about 56. So I'm looking at my seconds on my hand here. I just think those harmonies are gorgeous. And Rod, you're here. I am so glad you're here and you heard that. And I was right. He's from Ireland. Yay, I got it right. Rod, that piece just, I mean, I would love to play it again and again, and I would love to get the ending a little bit better, but just um, your music speaks to me. So I am very eager to keep reading more of your music. And by all means, people, folks, friends, check out his SoundCloud account. He's on Twitter. I put his Twitter handle in the description. I hope that's okay, Rod. But I really think just gorgeous piano music. And other pieces too. There's a beautiful orchestral piece called a variation of Egglog, which I'm a sucker for those. So gorgeous stuff. Thank you for letting me play this, Rod. I really appreciate it. All right. I was going to do another Sweelinck piece, but I'm going to bump that to next week because I would like to end by reading through a sonata by Ladislav Dussek. I'm not exactly sure how to say that. And this was actually recommended by a friend of mine. I had said I wanted to do an obscure classical sonata. And this is what he recommended. So, Dussek, Opus 39, number 1. I'm short on time, so that means it's time to blitz through, and this is truly a sight reading extreme moment. 16th notes. And he was Czech, in case you don't know anything about him. sorry. That was definitely one of those crash and burn moments at points. I had no idea. I think because it was in 6/8, what tempo to choose. Anyway, and because I hadn't looked at it first, that was a little terrifying. But I think it's a really fantastic sonata, and he's written tons of them. I don't know about tons, but he's written a lot of them, so I'm really eager to read more of them. So I hope you enjoyed that. I went a little bit over time, so thanks for hanging in there with me if you did stay. So that's the end of the 30th episode, yay, of Sight Reading Maverick. Be sure to get me a request throughout the week as early as possible. Not as early as possible. Definitely by midweek is helpful. I'm now getting so that lots of people are making requests, which is great. So before I leave, Rod, the composer of the previous piece, said that he's going to send me some links. Oh, how wonderful, where the score is available. So if any of you liked that piece, by all means, follow that link so that you too can read through his music. It's just gorgeous. I can't recommend it enough. Inca Warrior just hopped on, yay! And he loved the second movement of the last sonata too. All right, everyone, now I truly will go. Have a good rest of your weekend. Again, thanks for joining as always.